Alright, so for the final video for my major writing assignment 3, I just want to discuss the Bloom taxonomy on how it relates to my personal growth. Actually, and I believe in one of these it says, how was Bloom's taxonomy used throughout the course to scaffold your learning into something bigger? And I just want to go deeper into that. So Bloom's taxonomy. So as you can see, it looks like it's like a pyramid of some sort. We have create, evaluate, analyze, apply, understand, and remember. And what's very interesting about this class is that I do feel like everything that we've done is connected to the Bloom's taxonomy, because, you know, first it was combining parts to make a new whole. We did the Mbongis. So those Mbongis, the little things like the communication models, had relations to our lesson one, not our lesson one review, but our notes that we had took, our first notes that we had took. And then judging the value of information or ideas, evaluate. I would say for that plays a role in our resume, or like understanding bias, because a lot of us who were doing our resumes, we didn't think there was anything wrong with it. But as we're going through class and our resume being judged, it did help. Our resume being judged and corrected did help with the professionalism behind our resumes. And the next is breaking down information into component parts. Pretty much kind of how the Mbongis was. A lot of the stuff that we learned in the Mbongis were morally of that stuff was broken down information from the up and coming assignments that we would do, or it would be somewhat connected to the other assignments that we would do. And then we have apply the facts, rules, concepts, and ideas, understanding what facts mean. This goes back to citing sources, researching, I believe there was an assignment, I can't name it off the top of my head, but there was an assignment where we did have to make sure that whatever we was researching was correct, because it's a lot of misinformation, malinformation, and disinformation. It was those three things is what you wanted to look out for whenever you're researching or citing a source. You want to make sure that it's the correct information. You never want to get your information from a bad source, or if you're looking to get something from the news or the internet, just make sure that it's a reputable source, because a lot of times there's a lot of fake news out there. It's a lot of information out there made to harm you. It's a lot of information out there to get you confused or confuse the public. And then recognizing and recalling facts. I could say that dates back to the values evaluate. Recognizing and recalling facts is pretty much just, like I said, goes back to citing sources, going back to looking at the source. If it's a good source, is it true? Are the facts, is the evidence, do you have evidence of it? Do you have evidence about that source of what it says in there being true? You know, things of that nature. So overview, Bloom taxonomy. Bloom argued that our brain learns things in stages of organizing information. The table shown will help you better understand how you learn information in your classes. The stages outlined in the table are designed to build on each other as you continue to learn information. And what's funny is my instructor literally told me that a lot of the writing that we do, or even sometimes when we're brainstorming, we can build onto that. So that's another thing. And then even with the Mbongis, the information that we learn from the Mbongis build on to the next assignments that we do, and builds onto the bigger assignments that we do. So really and truly, it's kind of like taking a little piece of information, and matter of fact, it's like taking a small snowball information and just letting it roll till it's bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. That's kind of how it is with learning in this class. It's like a snowball effect. You start small, you start with the communication model, then you start with reading about Medu Nefer, then you start reading about identity, and then sooner or later, every assignment that you do is somewhat connected to each other. The description, the narration, reflection, assignment, like the reflection, everything, literally everything about this class is all connected. And I've learned so much from this class. a lot of the stuff that you can do that you do in this class, you can take. I plan, especially with my resume, I plan on taking that outside of school, because I didn't know that if you had the year or the date or like a big summary. I didn't know, even if you put your religion on your resume, I didn't know that you could get hit with bias. I always believed in like racism and things like that, things of that nature. I mean, I've experienced it, but it isn't just, there isn't just racial bias. There's also lots of bias when it comes to your resume. So that's definitely something that I'm gonna take. And then even with annotating, I didn't get good at annotating until I got into this class. When I first got into this class, I didn't know how to annotate correctly, but over time, with me using the pen, since it's permanent ink, I can't erase my thoughts. I have to stay true to them. So now I have to critically think about what I am highlighting or what I'm circling or what I'm writing about, because you can't just you can't just read a paragraph and then not get anything good out of it and then just write some gibberish or write something that is completely irrelevant to the whole topic of the article or the paragraph. So that's definitely something that the Bloom's taxonomy is literally everything with this course. Like, it's literally everything with this course. So stages, keywords. Remember, when we try to remember things, we often ask to define, recognize, list, retrieve, name, locate, or find information. This can take places in quizzes, tests, worksheets, tests, workbooks, labeling diagrams, and reproducing the information that was just explained to you. Like I said about the Mbongis, a lot of the Mbongis are connected to each other. Like, even with id, ego, superego, that can be connected to the Dunning-Kruger effect. And then the Dunning-Kruger effect and the id superego can be connected to the identity map, because that has something to do with somebody's identity, their personality. You know what I'm saying? And then understand, we are often asked to explain the information further. You might be asked to interpret, summarize, classify, and paraphrase information. This can take place when you're asked to summarize, label a diagram, and explain key terms, outlining information and giving examples of information that you remember. Literally, throughout all the assignments that I reviewed, I literally did a majority, not even a majority, I did this. Everything that's been said in this whole sentence, I did that. And then apply. Some keywords in this stage may consist of implement, solve, collect, use, show, execute, and produce. In this stage, you are asked to apply the information that you remember and understand to a familiar situation. You may present, demonstrate, solve, or illustrate your knowledge on information. So even when I wrote in my description about the intersectionality, that was something that was pulled from a previous assignment, and since the assignment asked what does it have to do with my identity, that's when I compared those two together, and I applied the knowledge that I knew about intersectionality and identity disadvantages and advantages into my description assignment. So analyze. When you're asked to apply information, you may find that you are being asked to compare and contrast, organize, integrate, construct, deconstruct, and deconstruct ideas. This may take place when you graph, report, chart, outline, and explain the criteria that certain ideas need to fulfill. Evaluate the keywords to look for in this stage are checked: hypothesis, experiment, critique, monitor, assess, and test. You could be asked to use this stage when you are debating, reporting, arguing, reaching a verdict, concluding your ideas, speaking about how an idea manifested. Create some keywords for this stage are design, construct, plan, produce, event, devise, and make. You may be asked to do this in class when you have creative projects that allow you to make something that is original and still presents the ideas that you learned in the previous stages. For example, you may be asked to create a video, devise an action plan, or write a story, which is connected to our major writing assignment 1, where we actually did a group activity discussion, our Mbongis. And then another thing could be like a group activity 1, where we were discussing about Nick Young and how Black people don't trust therapy, and how some of the stuff that we learned from our previous assignments we broke down into the group activity. And then here is just some examples of Bloom's taxonomy. Bloom's taxonomy will look different for every single class you take. Use the chart below and apply these examples to your own college experiences. So pretty much what's being said is that I need to make sure to download this diagram and keep it for my future college courses, and hey, maybe for my career outside of my outside sources. Maybe not, maybe if I don't do my courses next year, or next semester, and I want to do something else, I can still take what I learned from this class and put it into my outside anything outside of college. But I'm gonna just read the rest of this. So remember, can I list and define the key terms? And then understand is, can I explain the reasoning behind the ideas and concepts? Apply, can I apply this information to a new or different situation, problem, or context? Analyze, can I distinguish processes, procedures, or principles for seemingly identical processes and procedures or principles? And then the third one and fourth one is evaluate, can I determine the best rational plan, solution, course of action, etc.? Give the information. And then define, label, match, name, recall for keywords. Discuss, explain. These are just like multiple different things for this example in the Bloom's taxonomy. But this is just like a little diagram. Like biology course, what is DNA? Explain the role of DNA, protein synthesize, and then even with math. So really and truly, this whole like examples, Bloom's taxonomy isn't just relevant in English or competition and rhetorics. It's also relevant in history, math, biology, maybe even psychology. So this is definitely something that I would definitely take when I leave out of this course. This is definitely something I would take. Create, can I synthesize this information in any original way? But yes, so far I would say that I have learned a lot from this course. I'm very appreciative of this course. Definitely became a much better writer, a much better detailed writer. I definitely understand how to do MLA format for essay, APA format for an essay. I know how to do a cover letter now. I know how to complete a resume, and even those two, cover a simplification letter and the resume, those play a role outside of college. Those play a role in the job market. So not only is this course getting you ready for your next courses, but it's also getting you ready for real world scenarios that you'll be in. And I'm very appreciative of that. But I would say that I've covered pretty much everything that is needed on this assignment. So what I want to say is that is my major writing assignment 3. Thank you for watching.